Topaz Jakes back for another album review, and this one is to that Fat Joe and Remy Plata o Plomo. And I'm giving this one the yellow light, man, as that title translates to silver or lead, which pretty much goes back to the cartels with Pablo Escobar and such, man. That's how they would run up on the police like, look, I'm going to move these drugs. Are you going to take these bullets for you and your family, or are you going to take this money? But the way you got to look at this album is that there is potential in this to make a great EP. Like, we talking an EP that could be considered as the best project of the year so far. But as they continue to add tracks to it to try to make it into a full-fledged album, man, they ultimately took away all of the quality that there was within it. And that's something that a lot of people just got to understand, man. Sometimes you just don't have enough quality material in order to drop a full-fledged album, but yet you got enough material to drop a great EP, and people will look at that EP and actually demand more because you're giving them less, but yet you're giving them the high quality content that they honestly want. Because here's just the real talk. If they just threw that all the way up, which I already made a review for that, man, in which that is the club single, even though I wasn't really big on that all the way up, man, but ultimately you can see all the numbers that it did, how many spins they got, how many people actually love that song, man, that it definitely found a slot on this album that definitely needed to be there. Then you throw in that Money Showers, which I feel is easily the best song off this entire project, and that is another song that I already made a review for. Throw in that Cookin' featuring French Montana, which what that song is ultimately about is how they're stunning so hard that it looks like they were selling drugs, or they are similar to drug dealers and such on how they like to stunt, and which that song was rather solid, man. I definitely loved the energy that they came with, and French Montana is just really solid when it comes to hooks, dude. That song was awesome, definitely found a slot on that potential EP off this album. And I feel as though that Too Quick was also a really awesome song that should have been kept on this project as well, where ultimately they're just spitting like the hook really doesn't mean much to the actual song, where the hook is really just wordplay based off the phrase too quick, where each Remy Ma and Fat Joe go in their own separate directions with the lyricism. And Fat Joe definitely did have some highlights on that one, man, where he's ultimately talking about the Game of Thrones references and such. I definitely enjoyed that. And then Fat Joe and Remy Ma can throw whatever song they want to as the last one, man, but yet overall that would have been a great project. But instead we get a whole bunch of songs like Dreamin', where Dreamin' is not that bad of a track, but what really kills me about that joint is that direct sample that they used on that dude, in which that very same sample was used on that You Gonna Get This Work mixtape by Loaded Lux, which was one of my favorite mixtapes of that particular year, like mixtape of the year material, and you're gonna use the same exact sample there. That kind of gets to me. May not get to you, but it gets to me. Songs like How Can I Forget that got Kent Jones on there, in which Kent Jones, he was featured on quite a few songs on this project, and honestly he didn't deliver on any of these joints, but that song overtly came off as their own variation to trap music and all that, which honestly was just not needed here. And songs like Go Crazy, which is a sample of that Floetry, that Say Yes joint from a little minute ago, man, which none of these songs were really that impressive. They honestly did not need to be there. I mean, real talk, if they just made an EP, we could have been looking at a 9 out of 10 here. But honestly, with the full-fledged project right here, man, you got to give this one a 6 out of 10. But a quick recap here, man. The positives is there's a handful of really good songs on here, but yet the negatives is a lot of background music. But this concludes today's review, man, and now we're going to jump into a brief instrumental from underground producer W before we jump into some of your questions.
Turn it up.
So Revox says that Joey Badass album is allegedly coming out April the 7th. And I greatly appreciate that information, man, and I will be sitting up waiting for that because Joey Badass is a solid artist. And a lot of people saying that there's hype around it that this could possibly be the album of the year. And you know, that's what scares me. Like when people say this is going to be the album of the year, it never really works out that way. But yet, I'm anxiously anticipating it because he got the skills. And then a bunch of people been leaving comments saying that Joey Badass is one of the best artists that's out there right now. And you know, he's he's got to prove himself before you can label him that. Like, I honestly enjoy his music, man. I honestly did enjoy some of his previous projects, but he haven't released anything on the level of what the top artists out there right now are dropping. I'm honestly taking Kendrick Cole, Big Crit well before I take Joey Badass, but I do believe he has that potential to creep up into that question, man, but he got to deliver the great albums. I hope you enjoyed the show. You can follow me at Twitter up there, and you can go to downloadpass.com that's down there to read today's article.